When the Bruins needed someone to step up, it was Morgan Geekie who scored the game-winning goal against the Buffalo Sabres.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. Today is Monday, December 23rd, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. Free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get in on the action with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And before we get started, a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins, and you can find me, my hockey thoughts, dad jokes at Ian C. McLaren. I am a lifelong Boston Bruins fan. I've been covering this team for various outlets for about 20 years now. I was a full-time hockey news writer at The Score for 5 years and have been hosting this podcast since 2019. Quick shout out to all those who reached out with support as I was off in Ottawa last week visiting my mom. All is well with her as we get ready for the Christmas break. And really did appreciate all those kind messages. Upon my return to Guelph, where I live, the Boston Bruins played the Buffalo Sabres on Saturday, and it was potentially a bit of a trap game. The Bruins were coming off a 5-game road trip on the West Coast, or in Alberta as well, and they were playing a Buffalo Sabres team who hasn't won in a very, very long time. And the fear was that the Bruins would come in a bit listless, a bit tired, and perhaps fall prey to a Sabres team that had even played the night before, losing on home ice to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And for a long time in this one, it was pretty tight, and it remained 1-1 until the third period, pretty late in the third period indeed. Now, Morgan Geekie appeared to have put his team ahead with the game-winning goal, but it didn't count. This one, the first one was wiped out because of what was it? A goal? No, an offside. At first, I thought it was goalie interference, but no, it was offside. He appeared to score the go-ahead goal with about 12:44 to go, ripping a shot past James Reimer, who must have nightmares about TD Garden. But it was taken off because they reviewed it, and David Pastrnak had gone offside. But not to be deterred, Morgan Geekie scored the actual go-ahead game-winning goal 11 minutes later, blasting a one-timer past Reimer from the high slot on the power play, set up by David Pastrnak, who, kind of owed him for going offside previously. So not only was it the game winner, it also came on the power play, and it's an example of Geekie's resurgence as of late after having a very, very tough start to the season. He started on the second line, right wing, on opening night. Then he was a healthy scratch under head coach Jim Montgomery. Scratched a handful of times early on the season. Didn't get a point until his 7th game of the campaign. Didn't score a goal until his 12th game of the season. Geekie started to play a little bit better under interim head coach Joe Sacco. And to Sacco's credit, he has kept Geekie on the top line, even when many online have been calling for him to be demoted at the very least. Geekie, though, has bounced back from that tough start and has now scored 7 goals. Again, that's without having any through his first 12 games. He's now got 3 over his past 4 games, 4 points over that stretch, and is up to 7 goals, 6 assists in 30 games this season. Now, not numbers that are going to blow you away, but when you factor in his tough start, you see how he really has bounced back and played very, very well over the last little bit here. He's now on pace for 16 goals, 14 assists for 30 points. That would be down from the career highs he posted last season, 17 goals, 22 assists. But again, if you factor in how he has played lately, he's got 5 goals, 3 assists for 8 points here in December. That's after having just 1 assist in all of October, 4 points in November. So he's doubled that production here in December, and hopefully he can keep it going. Now he's playing on a line with David Pastrnak, Pavel Zacha, and perhaps it's a bit of positive regression going here for this trio. They haven't really been finishing their chances, but Joe Sacco said, he's been finding some open ice. He can shoot. He's getting to the net, all of which will deliver results sooner than later. And, Geekie acknowledged that he didn't get off to the best start that he wanted or needed to this season. Again, it's a contract year, and there's no trade protection on his contract, so he could be a candidate to be moved if the Bruins needed more of a shakeup past replacing the coach. And Geekie said, it's just a matter of knowing what kind of player he can be. One of those things where he felt like not a lot of things were going the team's way, his way personally, and he didn't really have a good answer for why he was struggling or why things have turned around. Internal belief. We saw him on Twitter a few weeks ago, cracking back to some detractors. The guys in the room, he said, have been very supportive. The leadership group has been supportive, always lifting him up and trying to get him going. He never felt like he was on the outside looking in. Just one of those things where he tried to stay on the gas and get better every day. Now, whether he can keep this scoring rate going is remains to be seen, of course. But again, these 3 goals over his last 4 games have been hugely important, and he's not shooting. Yes, he's been succeeding lately, but he's not shooting that much higher than his season or his career shooting percentage. 11.5 for his career. Right now, he's 11.9. Last season, he had the 17 goals on 13.1% success rate. So there could be even another level for Geekie to hit. But in this game, he certainly was hugely important for the Bruins, scoring those 2 goals, one of which was called back, and he came back determined as ever to score the game-winning goal against the Sabres team that obviously is very beatable. And we'll look at some more key stats and signals to take away from this game, as well as preview tonight's game against the Washington Capitals here as the podcast continues. Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you love sports, you're going to love Prize Picks. It's the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or any of your favorite sports, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in on the action. This week on Prize Picks, I'm looking at the hockey board. You can look at Jack Hughes for more than 4 shots on goal. That's an easy one. He had 13 in the game last week. All you have to do is download the app and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's so simple to make your picks and have fun with friends while potentially cashing out fast. Again, download the PrizePicks app, use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly on PrizePicks, where you can run your game all season long. Thank you so much once again for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine, free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, I mentioned Geekie with the 3 goals over his last 4 games. That is perhaps the key stat to glean from the game against the Sabres the other night. When it comes to special teams, it was the Bruins who went 1 for 3 on the power play, which is fantastic considering they have the NHL's worst power play at the moment. So going 1 for 3, Hall of Fame numbers if you're looking from a baseball perspective. They did allow the Sabres to score a goal, though. The Sabres went 1 for 3 as well. Their lone goal coming from JJ Peterka. Now, on the flip side, that means the Bruins did not allow a goal at 5-on-5 in this one. And Joonas Korpisalo played a great game coming in and giving Jeremy Swayman a break. Swayman had played the last 3 games on that road trip. And there's a real case to be made here for Korpisalo to get more playing time because he's just quite simply playing better than Jeremy Swayman at the moment. Korpisalo stopped 19 of 20 shots, 0 goals at even strength, a .950 save percentage, and he raised his season save percentage now to .904, which is better than his career mark of .901. He's playing fantastic right now. Jeremy Swayman still kind of fighting it after not. I mean, we can't ignore the fact that training camp is a huge part of a player's preparation for the season. He's got an .887 save percentage here now through 24 games. So it's not really a small sample size now. He does have a winning record, but Korpisalo has clearly been the better goalie for this team so far this season. Overall, the shots were fairly even. The Bruins only mustered 19 shots. And again, we can give them a bit of a pass because they didn't really have a lot of time to get acclimated back to the Eastern time zone after spending 10 days out on the West Coast and then in Alberta as well. So there was some, perhaps a bit of jet lag there, but they were able to get the job done. Now, when we're talking about key stats, we cannot ignore the contributions of the captain, who became the 3rd Bruins player to have a 9-game point streak at age 36 or older. He got out to a bit of a slow start, and we know that he had some surgeries over the summer. Didn't exactly come in at peak form, but he's really found it. And only Jean Rattel back in 1976-77 and Johnny Busick in 1974, 75, and 71, 72 have had 9-game point streaks for the Bruins at age 36 or older. So the captain firing in all cylinders, and he contributed with a huge empty net goal to seal this one for the Bruins. The Sabres, if they lose to the New York Islanders here on Monday, they will match their 2nd longest losing streak in franchise history. Right now, it is at 13 games. Their longest streak is 18 games. The Bruins did not want to be the team against whom the Sabres got that W for the first time in a long time. There was some trap potential in this one with the Bruins coming off that long road trip. They weren't at their best on Saturday night, to be sure. Buffalo played pretty well despite being without Rasmus Dahlin, who had a planned absence after returning the night before from back spasms. And thankfully, the Bruins were able to get that W. Charlie Coyle gave the Bruins a 1-0 lead in the first period. He had a breakaway coming out of the penalty box. He said his eyes kind of lit up on that one. He took an offensive zone penalty. He was hoping the guys would kill it. And then to be able to jump out of the box and get that big goal for the Bruins to put them up 1-0 at the time certainly was a huge contribution from him. Now, speaking of Coyle, that was his 8th goal of the season, but he's still stuck on only 2 assists. He's got 10 total points, and he was actually bumped to the right wing spot in this one. He has played there in the past. They're trying to get a second line going here with some of their players who are expected to be in the top 6. We'll discuss tomorrow on the podcast our holiday wish list for the Boston Bruins, and I've already got a couple responses saying top 6 winger. Charlie Coyle is a natural center, of course. He has played right wing before, and to get only 2 assists playing in the center spot for the majority of the season, that's not ideal. And he was kind of reinvigorated here, playing on the right side with Brad Marchand and Elias Lindholm. Not a bad looking top 6 now, with Morgan Geekie slotted to his off wing, playing on the left side with Zacha and Pastrnak, kind of taking on that Jake DeBrusk role from a couple seasons ago. So we'll see if that sticks here against the Washington Capitals, but that's something to look for here as one of the signals moving forward is this rejigged lineup with Oliver Wahlstrom playing with Justin Brazeau and Trent Frederick, who's now the 3rd line center. He is a natural center. He's played there the majority of the time prior to jumping into the NHL. And with that trio, we now have John Beecher, Mark Kastelik, and Cole Koepke on the 4th line, with Mark McLaughlin taking a seat despite scoring a little bit here over the last couple of games. So he, for the moment, is the odd man out. We'll see if that sticks here for Monday's game against Washington, or if Koepke or Brazeau will take a seat. I was very impressed with Oliver Wahlstrom in this one. It was his first game for the Bruins on home ice, and he drew the penalty that led to Morgan Geekie's late power play goal, breaking in, trying to get a chance in front of James Reimer. He was tripped, and it was Geekie who made good on that opportunity later on in this one. Wahlstrom did not have a shot on goal in only 9 minutes and 48 seconds of ice time. Perhaps that was a bit of, he joined the Bruins out west, coming back. Maybe he was a bit fatigued, or they're trying to ease him into the lineup a little bit. But that one drawn penalty, like I said, was huge. And we'll see if he can get his first point as a member of the Bruins sometime soon. Coyle, Pastrnak led the way with 3 shots apiece. And points-wise, it was Pastrnak who had 2 assists to continue his rejuvenated play. Not scoring at the rate that we'd love him to see, but still contributing points-wise here. And a quick standings check before we preview tonight's game against Washington. I wanted to wait until the Capitals played last night because they beat the Los Angeles Kings, and they are currently tops in the NHL with 48 points. Actually, that's second in the NHL, but their point percentage puts them in first place. 727 point percentage with a second-ranked goal differential of plus 39. For the Bruins, after that win, they have a point percentage of 571, which puts them 7th in the Eastern Conference. They're still technically 3rd in the Atlantic in terms of points, but they're 2 points ahead of Tampa, who still has 4 games in hand. They're 2 points ahead of Ottawa, who lost on Sunday to the Edmonton Oilers, and the Senators have a game in hand, although Linus Ullmark, who has been huge in their recent surge, they're 8-2-0 over their past 10, but Ullmark was injured in last night's game, so that, of course, would be detrimental to Ottawa's hopes. The Bruins now 18-13-4, still a bit of a troubling goal differential. It's minus 17, and it will be tough to improve on that against the Washington Capitals, and that is a game that we will preview here as the podcast continues. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and you can get in on the action on Christmas Day with a couple NFL games this midweek with FanDuel. All you have to do is download the app, and you can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. It's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel. The playoffs are almost here, and all you have to do is bet $5, hit on that bet, and you'll get $250 in bonus bets. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. You can bet on over-under player lines, which player will score a touchdown, how many points a team will score, and so much more. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Okay, Bruins Capitals tonight at TD Garden, the final game for the Bruins before the holiday break. The NHL is very generous with their holiday breaks, giving players 3 days off over Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day. The Bruins will play tonight and will not be in action again until Friday, where they will begin a home-and-home series next weekend with the Columbus Blue Jackets. We'll preview that series coming up later on this week. For the time being, we're focusing on the game against the Washington Capitals, and this will not be an easy one. If you recall, last season, the Washington Capitals squeaked into the playoffs with a very bad goal differential. They made a few key moves over the offseason, and that was highlighted by the acquisition of Pierre-Luc Dubois from the Los Angeles Kings, flipping Darcy Kemper and replacing him with Logan Thompson. We'll talk about the goaltending here in a moment, but it's Dubois who leads the way for this team over the past 5 games with 1 goal, 4 assists for 5 total points. But he is not even in the top 3 when it comes to scoring for this team. They're led by Dylan Strome, who's got 38 points in 33 games. Alexei Protas, who has come out of nowhere to record 29 points in 33 games. The other Connor McMichael has 16 goals and 13 assists for 29 points in 33 games. Dubois still tied with Alex Ovechkin, who has 25 points in 18 games before breaking his fibula a few weeks ago. This is a very loaded team. I haven't even mentioned Tom Wilson. I haven't mentioned John Carlson, Jacob Chikrin, Rasmus Sandin on the back end, and their goaltending, which has been excellent. Logan Thompson with a .914 save percentage coming over from Vegas in the offseason, and Charlie Lindgren with a .905 save percentage, continuing his strong play from last season. If I'm the Bruins, I might go back to Joonas Korpisalo for this one because he's been their better goalie, and the Bruins could use this W heading into the Christmas break. The Capitals are 23-8-2 so far this season. They are 7-2-1 over their past 10. They've won 2 in a row against a couple good teams, Carolina and the Los Angeles Kings, and they are quite simply a true Stanley Cup contender. If you look at their offense, their defense, again, a very simple game. This sport we love, hockey, you want to score more goals than the opposition. They're scoring the second most goals per game, 3.76, and they're allowing the 4th fewest goals per game, 2.58. Their penalty kill is excellent, 6th ranked, 83.3%. Their power play is kind of mid, 17th, but of course they're missing Alex Ovechkin, who scores at will on the power play. Bruins, 31st on the power play, 22nd on the penalty kill, 28th ranked offense, and an 18th or 16th ranked defense. So this could be a real tough test for the Bruins tonight. And a win heading into the break against a top team in the Capitals would certainly give them a boost of confidence as we head towards the end of 2024. David Pastrnak, 7 points over his past 5 games to lead this team in scoring. Marchand with 3 goals. They're going to need those two to step up huge here if they have any chance of winning. Pastrnak still only at a point per game pace, 12 goals in 35 games, despite 139 shots. It would be really great to see him bust out with a hat trick tonight. How great would that be to see our boy Pasta break out here with a hat trick? He does have a league high 139 shots, one ahead of Nathan McKinnon, more than Brady Tkachuk, who's got 137. But out of the top 5 players in terms of shots on goal generated this season, he's got the fewest goals. We would love to see that shooting percentage get to at least even 10, which is kind of league average. He's only at 8.6 right now. Would love to see him raise that shooting percentage tonight. It's going to be a tough game for the Bruins, but who knows? Anything can happen here on Christmas Eve. A miracle. Maybe the Bruins will find their wings and play like angels here against the Capitals and get that big Christmas W. Again, they will not be playing again until Friday. We will be back tomorrow with a Christmas Eve episode recapping tonight's game, as well as going through our holiday wish list. There will be no episode on Christmas Day, but we will be back on Boxing Day. Maybe we'll do a mailbag episode there, or count down the top moments of the year, something fun here on Boxing Day as we get ready for these games against the Blue Jackets on the weekend. Thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your day today. I hope you're all doing well, taking care of yourselves, taking care of each other. Thank you so much for listening. Please do subscribe if you have not already. Please check out the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast next, where Steele and Flip will give you all the expert knowledge they have to help you get the advantage in your league this week. And we will be back tomorrow with a fresh episode of Locked On Boston Bruins. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.
Peace out.